Hello, fellow collectors. I'm Anthony with Anthony's Comic Book Art. I'm here with a very important VIP CBC comic book creator.
All right.
Erik Larsen with a K. Erik.
With a K.
With a K. Yes. So you've had an estimable career in comics.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You started. Tell me about touch about how you started again. That was really cool. That story. That about the store that had like some stuff posted, and you sort of like, wow, I can do that, or people can do that.
Well, the thing is, I started drawing comics for myself when I was a real little kid on 8.5 by 11 tape, just folded in half. And then I wanted to break in and I found how to draw comics the Marvel way, which that book, and it gave me all my, oh, you're drawing this big, I get it now. So I started drawing my own comic book story. Then I met a bunch of guys who worked at a local comic book store, and they had a separate room that had like an art gallery, and another guy was showing some of his art in there. And so it was like I met him, and as it turns out, my dad was a teacher, and he had a tabletop offset press for printing. So I thought, I'm going to print my own comic book. And so me and a couple of the other guys who did stuff through the store, we got together and put together our own book and published it. And
so you were just a teenager, like 15, 16 in that range?
19 years old when this thing was done.
So 87, 88, 89 in that range, right?
But that was, what was that?
Oh, no, 19.
No.
You're, 79 then. Right?
No. I'm not that old. Good Lord.
No, you're 60, right?
I am 61.
Yeah, 61.
So that was,
let's figure that
1982, the year you graduated.
Oh yeah, 82. We talked about
82.
that, right? Yeah,
so 1982, and
the offset pressing, and you were in the early stages of Savage Dragon then?
Yes.
Yeah, that fanzine I saw that you, or is that the one that you actually did?
Yeah. No, well, we would have just printed a facsimile of this old comic that I had done.
Oh, that was a reprint.
That was a reprint.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Which was pretty much exactly what we had done, except
the colors are better.
Way nicer looking.
Right.
Yeah, because I didn't know I was doing it all on those early ones, and I was hand separating all the
that's cool.
colors and stuff like that, and causing these terrible moire effects.
So when you got started with your self-publishing, where did you actually get a job? Like with Marvel? Was Marvel your first job?
No. I sent stuff out to anybody who would put up with me, and then the real early stuff was through Americomics and through a guy who had self-published his comic out of Chicago. Gary Carlson did a book called Megaton.
Oh, Megaton, yeah.
Yeah, so I was in like the early Megaton.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
that was the start, and then just one job kind of led to another, and eventually I ran into Jim Shooter at a Chicago comic book convention, and he was looking through my samples and he's like, oh, you're a professional now, and I'm like, yes I am. And so it's like, how would you like to do a story for Marvel Fanfare? And so the two of them, I said, yeah, let's plot it at the convention. He's like, all right. So we just took time out, went to the bar at the convention center, and batted out a Thor versus Hulk story, which I ended up doing and ended up seeing print as an issue of Thor. Vinnie Coletta inked it, and
wow, he was still around?
Stan Lee scripted it.
Oh, wow.
So I was like subbing for Jack Kirby in that classic line.
A pig in the proverbial.
And so
that was
Stan's last issue of Thor and Vinny's last issue of Thor. So
you ended their careers?
I ended their careers. Thankfully.
Wow.
Got them out of the way. Make way for us kids.
Well, they made way, opened up some jobs for you. That's cool. So Jim, I just spent a couple days with Jim actually in Pennsylvania. At the Hershey Con, he was there for some reason. So yeah, but good guy. Great stories. Wow.
Yeah.
He's got great stories. Yeah. So then you started off with Marvel, and then what led into the Spider-Man run? Let's talk about that. That's where you really kind of like came to prominence, right?
Yeah. Well, prior to that, I had done the Doom Patrol over at DC.
Yeah.
And then the Doom Patrol led me to doing the Punisher of all things. Carl Potts had contacted me on doing the Punisher. So I did that for as long as I could stand it, which turned out to be 5
Is he writing and drawing it? I mean, he's known as an artist, but was he writing
Carl
it?
Potts was the editor. So Mike Barron was writing it, and I was working with Scott Williams was inking it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I had to be part of that thing. And then
somebody said he makes people's art look better. I wonder if that guy that was over there this weekend thinks that.
Well, they've worked together forever, so I would assume, yeah. Since early on, he was doing this stuff over on the X-Men with him. So
yeah, I think that X-Men.
So they've
Art Ebert was like some guy that was doing some.
They worked together for 35 years or so.
35 years,
that's a fair run.
Yeah, mid-90s.
But what ended up happening is I always had a love for the character Nova. Remember Nova?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So when I was working on the Punisher, I kept pitching stories to Terry Cavanaugh, and
What kind of editor was he? A group editor?
He was editing Marvel Comics Presents.
Okay.
Which was different characters all the time.
Yeah, you had to sneak Nova in because Nova was kind of defunct right then, right?
Yeah, well, I wanted to bring him back.
Right.
I had this story where I would bring it back, and so I had pitched him on that, and it was going to be a 5-part story, and I would be able to write it and draw it.
Okay.
So I was looking forward to that, and what ended up happening is, I was like, I got to quit this Punisher thing so I can pursue writing drawing.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening is they ended up going, well, we can't use Nova in this because we're relaunching him into part of the New Warriors, and your story doesn't fit in anymore. So it's like, well, I quit my job to do this. What have you got? And he's like, well, I've got an Excalibur series. So it's like I started doing that, but that gave me some cooler superhero looking stuff that I could show to Jim Salicrup. And Jim Salicrup was the editor on Spider-Man.
On the Spider-Girl,
and then he's like, all right, well, why don't you do an issue with that? And so I filled in on Todd's run.
On ISM, yeah.
Yeah, and then that was like, all right. He was looking at a bunch of different people, but I guess he chose me.
But now, did you consciously kind of, I'm not going to say...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
You did ape him.
I had to. I had to.
You had to get that
first
feel.
First of all, it was in the middle of a 6-part continued story, and I just was in the middle of it. So it's like I don't want to be too different from what's going on.
Uncontinuous.
Yeah, and I need to have the continuity there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it works.
I'm in the midst of this run, so it's like, oh, geez,
it got you traction, and then it got you the job.
Yeah, so it's like, also, when I was on the Doom Patrol, I followed Steve Lytle, right? And I don't draw anything like Steve Lytle, so the reaction was, oh my God, this guy's terrible when they got to my stuff, because it was so different. So it's like, it was like, hey, I love ice cream, and so it was so different.
But like early Savage Dragon type?
It was. I was kind of.
did it look like Erik Larsen on it?
Yeah, but different.
Just not
different. I mean, it's still. It was. I mean, I was a better fit on Spider-Man following Todd because my stuff is a little bit cartoony.
Yeah.
Steve Lytle's stuff is not cartoony at all.
He's graphic. Yeah.
So we're really a mismatch.
Okay, I get
So it was really like going from ice cream to roast beef. You're like, whoa.
All right, so here's a question. It's like, okay, you take over ASM when Todd leaves.
Yeah.
How many issues of that did you do?
I ended up doing
20, 30 in that range?
20, 30 around that.
Yeah, right?
Because I started...
But that's a couple years.
Yes.
Where did you and Todd going your own way and doing it, forming Image?
92.
Yeah.
1992. So it was...
What was Todd doing in that 2 years?
Well, they launched the other Spider-Man book that was just called Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, Spider-Man,
right?
That's right. I was thinking, what was he doing? No, you're right.
So he was writing and drawing that Spider-Man
book.
book.
Spider-Man.
And then I followed him on that, too. because
Okay.
he was like, yeah, he kept quoting books, and I kept like, here I am.
Uh-huh.
So-
But did you and him were you the Genesis that made Image?
It was me, Rob Liefeld, and
Okay.
Jim Valentino, actually.
Oh, okay, the four
Those
of you
were
guys.
And Todd came later.
Oh, Todd came later.
Todd came later, yeah.
And
It
then
was-
Jim came.
And then and then it was a full court press to get Jim Lee on board. 'Cause
Okay.
It was like he's Marvel's golden boy. We got to get this guy on there. So
Even then, he was considered like,
he was doing the X-Men, which was like
Right.
their
X-Men,
at that
X-Men,
point
yeah.
flagship title.
Yeah,
So-
Uncanny, and then they spun him off into
Yeah,
that
yeah.
X-Men, just
Yeah.
like they did Todd into Spider-Man. Yeah.
So-
Interesting.
That worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. So, how is Image as a company as a whole now at this point in the careers of everybody?
I mean, it's great, but it's a very different animal than when we started. Because when we started, it was guys coming from superhero books doing more superhero books, and now it's sort of opened up where everybody can do whatever they want to and just tell their own stories and do anything. So, back when I first got into comics, everything was superheroes. It was either superheroes or Archie,
Right.
and that was it. There were no other genres. But Image came along, it's kind of opened up that, and so now people are doing
You opened up creator-owned characters.
creator-owned
basically.
characters and
You
just
know?
and that they could be successful, which is a real thing.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like,
you were the hit parade
it's-
there. You
yeah,
were-
and then those people are able to, when you own your own characters, you can make cartoons and you can make movies and you can make video
yeah,
games
Spawn
and
on
all that.
HBO and
all
that,
that
kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So
And
there
then
was
the
a Savage Dragon cartoon, and there was a Spawn cartoon, and there was the Max was a cartoon, and then there was, The Walking Dead blew up, and now there's Invincible on as an animated thing.
And what bigger creator-owned books, IP or whatever you want to call it, has been Walking Dead and Invincible?
Yeah, those have been
So
big.
Kirkman is the president, chief
He's-
creative officer,
I
or
don't know what he
something like
is.
that?
He's got some title. We've all got some kind of ceremonial title. It's
Yeah.
like, here's a job we don't actually do, but
He just keeps putting out his own creative.
he does his own books. I do my own books.
Yeah.
Todd does his own books.
Well, I always like having some piece of art from the '90s that he likes. And he's a customer when he shows up, like in San Diego and stuff. He likes Kid and Max and that kind of stuff.
He is really of that age.
And
When
then-
Image started, he was like 12 years old. So,
Oh, cool.
so
Well, that's the age. That's
Right, right.
That's
It's all
I'm
like-
super nostalgic about that stuff I was reading at 12. That's
Right.
awesome. Yeah.
Right.
So, what's keeping you busy right now? You're still on Savage
I'm
Dragon.
still on Savage Dragon.
And what are you at 300 and something?
No, not that far. I'm working
Oh,
on.
Todd's at 3 something.
Todd's
You're behind him a
but
little bit.
I'm on 272. I think.
Okay, so you're
something like
you're the
that.
second longest
Yeah.
independent creator-owned book
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
next to Spawn, right?
Yeah, something like that. Well, the thing is, I'm writing and drawing all my own issues, where
Yeah.
Todd's had a million different guys doing it.
And some great talent.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Capullo and some great talent to come in and take
Yeah,
that
yeah,
character
yeah.
to a new level. Spawn still is popular and has some legs, and that's awesome. And he's always going to do the next movie.
Yeah,
He's always,
that's what I hear.
Yeah, you always hear that every year.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, we've known each other like what, 30 years?
All that. Yeah.
I remember when you asked me to help you talk to Herb Trimpe about doing a Defenders, right? Doing the Defenders?
He
And then he was really rude to you and said no. I took you over and said, hey, this is Herb. I was
well,
like,
we
remember that?
ended up working together.
I know.
So he
was-
did a story in Savage Dragon that he drew a story that I inked, and I drew a story that he inked. So we got to do that.
Yeah.
And then
Nice.
he did a alternate cover for issue 156 of all things.
But he didn't do the Defenders, right?
He didn't do the Defenders.
No. Didn't want to
And-
do any Marvel stuff, I guess, not so much.
Yeah.
He was mental about that, yeah. But he settled down. He had some issues, and then he settled down. And he was a chaplain down in Ground Zero for months and months. And He was
He's
an
a
interesting
good
guy. Yeah. But I still remember
at
that.
times really angry, but
Yeah, he had some bitterness. A lot of those guys did have bitterness about.
he was not treated well towards the end at Marvel.
Right.
To say the least.
His thing was, yeah, they shoved a bunch of Jim Lee art in front of me and said, make it look like this or you're fired.
Well,
That was pretty much it. And then you look at some of those Fantastic Force issues where he was trying to do Jim Lee, Scott Williams stuff.
yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It wasn't his thing.
But there's a lot of ups and downs in the industry, and it's what's most important is for you is that you're basically a job provider, an opportunity provider for young talent coming up to do their own create their own books, and that's really cool. That's an involvement that's been great for the industry, and we appreciate that. So thank you.
You are quite welcome.
Mr. Erik Larsen with a K.
All right.
That was great. Thank you very much.